Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to True Life Podcast. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. Hope the sun is shining, the birds are singing. Got a great show for you today. Luke Harris, Robert Brown. You may know him from Luke's got a few books out, The Dream Diaries. Robert's a business owner, a commentator, and they're both content creators. They have their own podcast, comedy team. Super cool guys. Super stoked you guys are here today. Welcome to the show, man. Oh, hold them up so we can see them, man. Is that three of them, Luke?
I got all three of them.
Whoa, man.
Yes.
So, for those who may not know, that's the Dream series right there?
Yes, the Dream Diaries. It was a brainchild of an idea back in high school. I had a buddy, in the 90s, people wanted to make easy, cheap films like, Go and Night at the Roxbury's, just some cheap stuff. And he wanted, something simple. And I'd worked on movie scripts and comic books and stuff, and my imagination's out there, and my brothers and my dad were out in Hollywood, so I had access to movie scripts and was fiddling around with it. And I came back with a movie script that was vampires versus bikers, which was a little high budget for a high school kid. So that's ended up being what the second book is. This was my script I carried around in Hollywood, and it basically takes place in a 24-hour period. So when we went to write it as a book, I broke it into each hours like a chapter. So, and then we had to go back and create a backstory for the, resident town sage Obi-Wan kind of character that was helping everyone. And in my book, she's a teenage witch, a little bit more on the gothic side, and she gets approached by the biker gang to find one of their buddies that got kidnapped at a party.
Nice.
And this buddy ended up being her ex-boyfriend, so she's not real keen on helping out, but she likes the leader of the biker gang. So, she's got some interest in it, invested interest. But, we had to go back and tell her origin story. So that's where the tie-in came in with the whole Dream Diaries, and Nightmares being the first book. Because basically she's kind of like a Hellboy, ghost investigator, but paranormal, in a real sense, exorcist, fights monsters, the things under the bed, that kind of stuff. So I went real archaic with, okay, what if she fought the boogeyman or the monster in the closet? What would be like the basic essence of this? And the first main bad guy she fights feeds off of fear. And this was way before we started hearing about the adrenochrome and feeding off of, adrenalized blood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when the bad guy, when he does it, it's more like a voodoo witch doctor-y type of thing. And he's breathing it in like dogs and bees can smell fear. And that's kind of how he is. And I mean, we really wish we had you over our StreamYard, because we got pictures of everything that we're doing. Because I also went to college as a classically trained oil portrait painter. I just looked at the catalog and picked one. But I did illustration and comic books, like I said. So I've got the ideas drawn out. I'm too lazy to do a lot of things myself, so I'm trying to build up a bigger team. And
we sit down and we done the what's it called, ZBrush. We tried to ZBrush out all of his characters and make them into 3D models, and that was during the first year of our podcast. We were he's always been supportive, but we can touch base on how he and I became a creative team. But Robert, you want to tell that story? Well, I mean, so I was a millwright. For those of you that don't know what a millwright is an overpaid mechanic, really. I a millwright's title going to construction sites. You can do anything. Seriously, when I say anything, you can lay concrete, you can set the metal, you set the foundation, set the pumps, install the equipment down to 1,000th of an inch. That was my trade. And I went out to a job, and of course, doing these jobs, you learn the safety is the same on every job. They give you a test at the beginning of every job, and it becomes boring. So there are few people like me who sit there and make fun of everything that the safety instructor is trying to tell you. So Luke was a safety man for that company, and funny. The safety guys messaged him.
I was a regional safety guy, and the local safety guys were sick of being heckled. It was RJ and his buddy Cole were like the two critics on the Muppet Show, just sitting there heckling in the back of a safety meeting about, okay, guys, you should wear your gloves. Gloves? Who needs them? They're just heckling. It's like, and these grown men are being brought to tears by other grown men. And that's industrial construction.
So he gets there and he says, by my he comes in with a British voice.
So, right. No, I got to get to that. So, so I learned Spanish and Portuguese in South America because I've been all over the place. You're out in Hawaii, right, George?
I am, yeah.
So I'm from Guam, but I'm not native Guamanian.
Okay.
Just military family flying around and whatever. We've been everywhere. But I spent some time in South America, learned Portuguese and Spanish, and so it messed up my American. And I had some guy I was living with. He's like, hey, y'all sound like you work at Taco Bell when you speak American. We're like, no, man, we speak English just fine. But so like the Chileans speak British. So I studied English again with my landlord, and I came back with a British accent. And I would use that in the safety course. Because this lady tried to cancel an OSHA class I was taking. And she's like, well, we tried to send an email. I'm like, look, love, if I don't get this course done, by the end of the week, I got to go back home. I don't get this job. She thought home was across the pond.
Yeah.
And so I showed up at this job, putting on airs, British accent. I'm like, yeah, by my calculations, I can give all of you 2 hours on the tool, or we can go out to eat. And these
my attitude doesn't change. I'm still heckling.
They're like, we'll go out to eat. So,
I said, I'll take the dinner.
They sent me an address, and I just go out there because it was by my hotel in Pennsylvania where we were at, Harrison, and I'm parked at. It's kind of shady. It's like a building was sort of under an underpass, kind of. It was so weird, and I'm like, this is starting to seem like I'm being punked.
Hannah's on Anna. Anna's on Hannah. Neither one of us can remember.
It was a strip club. But, like I said, I had art background, and I was a teacher's assistant at a university, full nude, down the hill from BYU, where we could draw fully naked people. But, and so I'm like, oh, bet. I was there before them, and I was waiting. I'm like, if they don't show up, I'm going to make fun of them.
Right.
For just being, but tell them about how it was. It was such a great experience.
It was a really nice environment. One of the girls in there even knew more about the construction job we were at than we did. So,
imagine that.
Yeah.
She's an engineer.
And one of the things that was really fun was this girl was in there talking to us about what we do for our jobs. And look, I'm going to tell you right now, some of my best friends are welders and pipe fitters and stuff like that. And going into a restaurant and stuff, or a strip club even, wherever, when you're on the road, you go out there, and there's so many times that people go, what do you guys do? And when I say I'm a millwrighter, I don't understand that. But when the girls go to the guy that says I'm a welder, of course, all the girls know a welder makes money.
Yeah.
So they're all over them. And I've spent so many times telling strippers, I'm like, look, welders are dumb. Okay. If you want to make money and you want to get the guy that's got the money, go after the millwrights. That's the people, the engineers. That's the people you should be going.
There were a couple funny things we share on our intro for our podcast, our story, how we met kind of thing. But there were two other funny things. the shape of the bar and the catwalk made it so like they had a serving winch, had a crescent moon bar in between the bar and the catwalk, and you can go over the catwalk. But I was the one with the British accent, but Robert and Cole started to be like, "Excuse me, ma'am, how does one insert the bill from here over to there?" And she's like, "Just wad it up and throw it." And
I'm from Oklahoma. I'm a Southern man. I'm very proud to say this. And here in Oklahoma, if you wad up your dollar bill and throw it at the stripper, that is very disrespectful.
Right.
You hand her the money like a gentleman.
Right.
And I'm like, no. If I throw money at her back home, they're going to come out here and stab me with a high heel. That's not happening. I'd rather just put it in her G-string and call it a day.
Right, like a gentleman.
The other funny part was there was between acts, there was a lady janitor in a janitor's smock and everything, jumpsuit, with a bucket and a mop coming out to
before
clean
walk
up.
Was ever a thing.
Before that was even a thing. And so then tell them what happened.
So this lady comes out. She's probably 350 pounds. I mean, she's a big girl. And she's walking out with her bucket and her mop, walking right towards the stage. And the man comes over the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Cheyenne." And I look over at Luke and I said, "Dude, if that's Cheyenne, I'm leaving right now. I'm not sticking around."
And she starts shaking her head and turns right around and goes off stage.
Yeah, she gets right to the steps and turns and walks away. And I was like, I don't know if they meant to do that. Like, if Cheyenne's her name, and they were like, "Oh."
It's totally. That's
but after that, we were fast friends. They did anything I told them to do. I mean, I just had to do hand signals for putting on their gloves. The other safety guys were like, "How do you do that?" It's like, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Right.
Then we disappeared from each other. After that job ended, we didn't talk to each other anymore. We had no need to converse or anything like that. So we went our separate ways, as it is on a job site. I mean, every time you go to a new job site, you're building a relationship with this new family. And then when the job site's over with, you leave and you never speak to these people again. If you're lucky, you run to them down the way sometime. But I was scrolling through TikTok probably a year later, and there he is on TikTok.
Yep. I have teenage daughters.
I know that guy.
Went from Musical.ly to TikTok. And so I was just keeping track of all the trends, and they hate it that I know everything. And
so I opened my phone to find his number. Maybe it's the same one, I sent him a message. I was like, "Hey, dude, I just seen you on TikTok." And we started conversing again. We both found out that we have daughters born within a week of each other.
Yeah, his daughter has vampire fangs like me. Kind of weird. But
so, I mean, our relationship picked back up there, and he had a friend that they were talking about doing a podcast. And this kind of ties into one of the questions you ask us, fear, The
other guy he always had an opinion about everything, but he didn't have a whole lot of experience in the construction field, and he was one of these assistant project manager type of things. And I knew he was coming up on the chopping block to get laid off, and it was pre-COVID layoffs and everything. And I was a corporate safety guy. I knew I wasn't going nowhere, but I kept saying, "Hey man, as a backup plan, let's do a podcast. You take care of the sports, restaurants, and anytime you have an opinion about everything." He was an odd duck. He's one of the few Democrats I know that was gun-toting and loved guns. But he wasn't like too anal about being big, beautiful, and black and a Democrat. But he was always asking questions, just because I was the only Mormon white guy vampire he knew, and politically, I'd always ask my wife, "Hey, what are we voting this year?" And it would change. Right. But we had another buddy. He was more annoying, and he just always assumed the worst of me. But it was fun to have the back and forth. But lo and behold, he wouldn't do it. And so I always complained to Robert on my drive home, because I'm driving from Cincinnati to Dayton's about an hour sometimes, and they made it worse. I'm like an hour and 20 minutes now, so I got 3 hours every day to entertain myself somehow.
Right. But he calls me and he says, I really want to do this podcast. I think it's a really fun idea, and I think it's something that we could do. And I was like, and he won't do it with you? And he goes, no, he won't do it. And I was like, give me an hour and call me back.
Yep.
During this hour, I've got a little shed in my backyard. I ran an Ethernet cord, a 50-foot Ethernet cord all the way out to my shed.
Get the chicken out.
Yeah. Put up a little wooden desk in there, hung up a flag in the background, and we went with it.
He came up with the logo, too.
Nice.
And I didn't even he knew how to use a computer.
Fear. When you ask about fear, you ask, what is your relationship to fear? And that's a really good question. I'm not afraid of anything.
Nothing?
Well, hang on. We'll get to there's one thing. There's one thing that I am afraid of.
Okay.
And I am deathly afraid of. When it comes to public speaking, making a fool of myself, taking off my clothes in public, I don't care. I'm not afraid of it. But spiders. I will strip down naked and run through my town down Main Street. But when it comes to spiders, I will squeal like a little girl.
That seems to be part of every person I've known that is afraid of spiders. They, for some reason, their clothes fall off too. Like when the spider shows up, it's not on you. It's still right there. It's okay.
Well, see, my lady, she'll tell me that my relationship with spiders is even weird. Because as long as it's over there and I know it's over there, I'm fine with it. I just don't want it touching me.
What about Spider-Man?
Oh, I'm cool with Spider-Man. Me and him hang out and have beers every weekend.
Okay, all right.
That comes to my fear. My wife's a redhead, so most of our costumes for Halloween revolves around that. And she was Mary Jane Watson, and I did the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I had a full-on suit.
Nice.
And she was teaching elementary school, and she's like, "Hey, it'd be fun if you brought some Halloween candy to the kids." And it was just her kindergarten class, and they brought me out to the playground, and it was the entire elementary school. And she's got some pictures and stuff, and we're showing this to my daughters in a scrapbook, and I'm like, that's the day I almost died. So I started handing out candies to the kids, and they started just crowding around me and then start pulling me down. And I'm doing the math. I'm like 40 pounds times about 100. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. So I throw all these kids off of me and start throwing candy around, get them away. And then I V-lined it to the monkey bars. And it was just like, World War Z, all these kids clambering on top of each other. And Spider-Man's up on top. Look to the sideline. My fiance and the other teachers are all laughing, and it's all funny. But I'm seeing a flash, the news report in my head. Local man died today, dressed up as Spider-Man, trampled by dozens of kids. I'm like, This is what's going to happen. And the other little kids on the outside that weren't climbing up are all chanting, "Shoot your weapon." I'm like, I got nothing, kids. And so I don't know how I got down, but somehow I somersaulted, whatever, got behind the teachers, and then the bell rang finally. And it was that day I realized it's not that I'm afraid of little kids. It's afraid of crowds coming after me. I can speak in front of a crowd, teach in front of people, give speeches and stuff, be in a crowd, be at a concert. But when the crowd turns on you, I don't care who you are. They always say it's fight or flight. No, it was both. I'm going to throw everybody out of the way and then run and keep fighting until it just, you don't know until you're in that kind of life and death situation what you're going to do.
The fear is real, man. The fear is real. Whether it's a group of radical kindergartners coming after your candy, or whether it's a janitor stripper who I don't even know if you want to see dance on stage, or maybe it is being down at Epstein Island. I don't know, man. The fear is out there, right? The fear is out there.
Oh, man. Well, and I love to make fun of Luke's fear being attacked by children because it's one of those things where I'm a 34-year-old man. I think I could kick any kindergartner's ass. I'm not scared of
kindergartners. It's wrong, though, right? It's wrong.
though. You don't feel it at all. I mean, when you punching bags and grown men or like walls, you can feel it. But little kids, you don't feel it at all. It's like you can't feel nothing. You're just trying to get out of there.
Viewer discretion. Luke really doesn't punch little kids.
Right.
We have to put a disclaimer across the bottom of our screen. We've got a ticker that just goes. But
yeah, I was watching some of your stuff, and it seems like you had a show about lesbians a while back, where some lady got pretty pissed off at you guys.
That's a good one.
So yes,
that was all about.
That was a very good show. We had a supporter at the time who was lesbian, and we were meeting up in Springfield, Missouri. Luke and myself, we had to go there to meet up to do some stuff.
That was first book release tour.
I live in Oklahoma and he lives in Ohio. So we meet up at Collecticons and stuff like that to promote his book, promote the podcast and everything else. And we were meeting up in Springfield, Missouri. And these people were like, can we meet up with you guys? We'd love to meet you guys. And we're like, yeah, sure, come on. So we paid for their motel room, and they come up and hung out with us. Her and her
Make
girlfriend.
It sound so weird. Like, hey, we got a hotel room with a couple of lesbians. It's gonna be great.
My old lady was there too. It's fine, okay?
She likes to watch.
Yeah.
So in that podcast, we had them there. We weren't even scheduled to really do a podcast that night, but we thought, why not? We've got them here. Let's ask a bunch of questions that we're too stupid to really know about the lesbian lifestyle, right?
We went
questions
through
that you always wanted to ask.
I think we went through the A to Z of the LGBT. That's what we should have done that episode like that, but it kind of just happened.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we really strive for. We're live all the time, so if we make a mistake, we make a mistake right here. And you can backpedal or whatever you want, but it's out there. And that's what helps me, I believe, alleviate the fear of it, is I know that if I say something, I have no filter. So it goes from my brain out my mouth. Done. Yeah. And if I say something, then I know that must have been what I was thinking when I said it.
Yeah. You need to not be afraid to back what you're saying. I felt it. It felt right. I thought about it. And at the time, that's what, in my wisdom, I thought was the right thing to say, or what the moment needed. Didn't know it was going to offend people. Dude, we did a podcast where I had a clipping from an article in marriage.com.
Okay.
How to be a
how
toxic,
to not be a
how
toxic
to not be a
person.
toxic person. We said bish, bish, and we're just messing with it. But at the time, we had some subscribers. I had some family, extended family and people, but we tried not to say anybody's names. We try to leave names of people out from work out of it, just because we're talking about ideas, not necessarily about people.
Smart.
But I'm reading this, how not to be this way, and it was just kind of a self-identification quiz, and an extended family member took it personal and thought I was talking about them, but I was talking about my wife.
So that led to 3 strikes on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing was,
oh wow,
yeah.
During the 2020 election, Robert was a huge Trump supporter.
Yeah.
He's toned down a lot.
I had a Trump flag in the background, Trump 2020.
Uh-huh.
And I was just guilty by association.
But Luke said that you've recently turned on Trump, Robert.
Okay.
He's toned it down.
Okay.
I haven't turned on Trump. I do not feel like 2024 is the appropriate time for Trump because I feel like so closely after Biden, and I'm sorry to make this a political podcast now,
it's fine, man.
I feel like so close to after Biden, so we went from Trump, Biden, Trump again. I feel like that's going to be a mistake because he's instantly going to be met with all the same stuff that he had beforehand. All the resistance that was there, that was building up, it's going to come back full force, and at the beginning of his term, just hit him again like a brick wall.
So not letting him posed tonight a suggestion that he bring in, a good running mate and endorse them as the presidential candidate and be their vice president and guide them and make them the strength, and he's the crutch, and he can be the training wheels and walk them through it. And then if
he would be a good vice president.
If he decides he could do it another term, then be president afterwards and switch. But if he, sees that the swamps, it just goes too deep and the corruption's too much and he's getting too old, he could decide he's not ready to do this anymore.
Right. Bow out.
But he seems healthy, happy, and ready to take anything that comes at him. So, and this is what's nice about Robert and I. We don't always agree. And in this point, I disagree. I think now would be a good time for him to do his last leg as president, set the precedents for a good running mate, and introduce us to his next partner. Because he picked poorly the first time.
That's the dumbest idea I ever heard.
Right?
But yeah. But Robert likes to just, throw stuff out kind of like a Democrat where it's he states it as it's a fact, but it's his opinion. And I have to remind people, no, that's an opinion, not a fact.
So what about RFK? What do you guys like you guys like that guy?
I can't understand a damn word he says. And I wish someone would translate for me, and I have to get real close. I'm 75% deaf. And so his poor throat condition, I'm just like, what is he saying?
The thing with RFK for me is that right there, he sounds almost robotic when he talks.
So we're so bad. We're so mean sometimes. We just but no, he has really good points.
Right.
Yeah.
He's coming from a good heritage, but then in the same side, you've just got to look at everything with a grain of salt. Because, we can trust people. And then when you really see that it's just two wings of the same bird, or, the idea is that no matter who becomes president, they get brought into a room with the deep state. And it's all the 3-letter acronym organizations sitting there saying, well, here's everything we got on you. And here's people watching all your loved ones and family. Right. And if you don't
play the ball, recent podcast, we talked about the fact
everyone you love.
We had a presidential campaign slogan made. Okay. Be the people. That's one of the things we say all the time. Instead of we the people, it's be the people. Because you need to be the people that stand up for this stuff. And we said Brown, Harris, 2024, and all of this. But in that podcast, we were talking about the recent Joe Rogan RFK, where Joe Rogan's being attacked and he's putting this stuff out there, misinformation, which we've been hit with misinformation before. And we were talking about that. And like I said in that podcast, don't take it serious. Don't vote for your YouTube people.
Right.
Don't go out and write your YouTube celebrity's name in there. Don't write our name in there because this is a serious election. And if you write my name in, you're throwing away your vote. Because I don't have 150 million people that are going to vote for me. So let's not take it serious.
Hypothetically, it could happen. This could be the podcast that does it.
It could. This guy, he could take us off right now.
Well, we're starting right here. I'll be the campaign manager.
There we go.
Listen, we've been needing that. I mean,
I know
we need a mediator.
That's why I contacted you guys, man.
So what is your favorite? What is your backstory? I mean, we've taken over your podcast anyway, hijacked it. We've been talking the whole time. What's your backstory?
Well, I spent a lot of time as a UPS truck driver. I spent about 26 years there. And it's interesting you talk about OSHA because, my lived experience as a UPS driver has taught me that safety is really, really important unless it gets in the way of production. And
Y'all
then it just takes a backseat.
You drive around with no doors.
I know. And so, I did that for about 26 years. I started off in San Diego. I moved out to Hawaii when I was right around 30. I was doing pretty good. I was making pretty good money. Had a 1976 Cadillac Eldorado, Volkswagen Beetle. I was living the dream. I lived in a little condo by the water, had a little fishing boat, man. I was killing it. I also had a big, I would take my money and I would spend it on drugs and strippers, and then the rest I would spend completely foolishly. And so, after a while, I figured out, like, what am I doing, man? Like, it was a very fun time, but it was also pretty empty. So I just thought, this is it. I need to figure something else out. So I put my name on a transfer list. I came out to Hawaii. I sold all my crap, and I condensed my life to 2 black bags. And after I sold everything, I had like $2,000 and 2 black bags. Flew to Hawaii. On the plane, I'm doing shots like, yeah, man, I'm going to Hawaii. And then I landed, and I sat inside the terminal and almost started crying because I realized I did no research. I'd never been here. I don't have a car, no place to live. Got nothing. I was like, what the fuck did I do? What did I do? This is the dumbest thing ever. And so I sat there for a while. I finally picked myself up and got a little shuttle out to a shuttle bus. They took me to Waikiki, took me to some little motel on the backside, stayed there for a little bit, got on Craigslist, found a place to live, bought myself a moped, and went to work, started working. About a year in, I met a beautiful girl that was also from California. She's 100% Laotian, but her family had moved to California. She moved out here. We started dating for a couple years, got married, bought a couple places, sold a place, had a couple kids. And then recently my career with UPS, man, I found myself in this position where I'll tell you. So I've always been big into psychedelics, man. Like I love LSD, mushrooms, smoking weed. Like I love it. It's really awesome. And I think more people should do it if they can handle it. Right. That being said, I found myself while at work about 7 years ago, like I was like, some of these people here are fucking dumb, man. I don't fucking like them. And this one guy at my work, I was really upset with him because I didn't know why. I was just always mean to him, but I thought I was just talking shit to him, right? I was like, this guy's a fucking pussy, and I always say things to him. It was like mean stuff. Yeah. And when my friend pulled me aside, and he's like, why are you so mean to that guy, George? I'm like, nah, just busting his balls, man. And like, no, you're kind of being a dick. I was like, really? Okay, let me think about that for a while. So I came home, and then that night, like I took a bunch of mushrooms, man, and I was sitting there thinking about it, like, why am I being like that? Like I am kind of being mean to that. And then it hit me. Oh, I don't like him because he's weak. And as soon as I thought that, boom, something flipped in my mind. I go, no, you're weak, George. And that guy just reminds you that you're weak. And I was like, I get goosebumps telling that story. I'm like, holy shit, I'm a big pussy. I'm weak. And I just see, like, that guy's a mirror, man. That guy's a mirror. And I just see myself in him. Holy cow. So I had to go apologize.
Deep, man.
What's true, bro? It's so true, right?
Yeah.
And so, this is the beginning of the story, man. So I go and I apologize. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm an asshole. And I'm super sorry for saying those mean things. What I saw was that when I look at you, I realize how weak I am. And it was really hard for me it was really difficult for me to take that. So I just took it out on you. And he's like, yeah, I figured you're just an asshole. But he was super cool about it. Totally forgave me. And like, I moved on from there. So from that point, I was like, okay, I have a problem with being weak.
Huge mental health thing to be able to do, a men's mental health, to be able to admit that you've done something wrong and be able to express it to the person that you wronged.
Dude,
that's
therapy,
huge,
bro. Yeah, I think it comes from mushrooms, man. Like I really think that the psychedelic experience allows you to see yourself in a position that you've never seen before. Kind of opens up this avenue where you can see yourself in an objective perspective. You know what I mean by that? You're like, oh, like I'll give you an example. Like we all know people who've been in a relationship. And you're like, that's never gonna work because you could see it. You'd be like, that shit ain't never gonna work. But if you ask both of them, they're like, oh, we're in love, man.
We're in love, yeah,
dude. together forever, you know? And then you're like, yeah, okay. But you can't see it when you're in it. Yeah, dude. And so if I going back full circle, you know, I found this problem with weakness, and I go, okay, I want to help other people figure this out. So I should probably tell other people how to be strong. So I tried that for a while. That didn't work because no one wants to tell you. No one likes it when you tell them what they should do. So then I had to think about it again. I go, well, maybe the best way I can help this is take old Gandhi's line and try to be the change that you want to see in the world. So then I started trying to tighten up my game a little bit. You know, I started trying to set a better example. I started standing up for myself, and I started feeling better. And then other people saw me standing up, and they're like, hey, man, that was pretty cool. Hey, I got this problem, George. And then it got to a point where, you know, we would have like, same on a job site, we would have these morning meetings at UPS where the management would come out and they would be like, all right, so today we're going to talk about safety. You know, it's real hot out there, so drink a lot of water. And by the way, you guys are all 4 hours over allowed, and no one's meeting production standards. And Bob got in an accident, but we're not going to report it because we got too many accidents, and you guys got to stick it, you know. And so finally,
you know exactly what all the safety shit's about, too. Yeah. Dude, after 4 years, you're like, yeah, George, you're going to be sitting in the fucking air conditioner all day. Calm down, all right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, I would stand up there and be like, you know, the problem with what you're saying is it's all bullshit. You guys don't care at all about safety. You guys only care about numbers. And take a look behind me. There's men and women who've given their life to this company, and it's completely, irreversibly undermining your credibility when you stand up here and you say things you don't mean. So I don't appreciate it. I think you owe us all an apology. You know, just, yeah, George. Everyone's all fired up. Well, that didn't last too long. Okay. So I started getting pulled in the office, you know, but I was really, luckily, I'm pretty good with my words, and I found ways to explain to the people in higher positions why what they were doing was wrong. And I could do it in a way that was irrefutable. We started talking about production, and I showed them their numbers. And I go, look, you're not accounting for all the variables here. How are you going to get the right equation if you don't measure all the variables, man? And so shortly after that talk, you know, I brought back a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden there was like this big storm, and they're like, hey, we're going to let you go for all these things that I didn't do. And so it was basically a retaliation move. And so that point, I started just podcasting full time. And it's one of these things that I've also learned, that the biggest tragedies in your life become the greatest gifts if you can sort of incorporate them. If you can, you know, take the time to figure out a way to integrate the problems in your life, they become a beaming light for you to follow. Like when I was weak, okay, I got to do something about this. Okay, be the example. Same thing for you guys doing a podcast. Like, you guys are becoming examples of what you want people to be like, right? Like writing a book, writing a script, going out on the road. Like, I think that's what we all share in common, is a lot of us that are creating right now are trying to become the best versions of ourselves so that we can become an example for other people. That's my story. That's my background, man. What do you think?
What it sounds like is one of the things we close off every episode of the podcast with me saying, be a champion. If not for yourself, do it for someone else. And that's what it sounds like you were trying to do, man. You want to be a champion for other people. And that's the people that we need more of in this world.
Right.
Luke tells it all the time.
I found it in a book called The Dream Giver. And Tom Wilkinson, he was a pastor. He was trying to write a modern parable. And I knew you'd write that down. But I like your goal. I read that in the bio. Trying to read 100 books a year. That's pretty good. I'm just trying to get through writing 500 pages a year. But
that's a challenge in itself, man.
See, the thing he was talking about in The Dream Giver, he has the land of familiar. Everybody's ordinary. Everyone's a nobody. But this kid woke up one day, found a dream on his windowsill in the form of a feather, and he sparked an idea. He wanted to know where this feather came from. It gave him a fire to go out and find where his dream was.
Right.
And he wanted to become a somebody. He didn't want to be a nobody anymore and leave the land of familiar. And in order to do that, you have to go out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone is where dreams go to die. And to leave the land of familiar, they literally had a bridge that you had to cross. And a lot of times, much like the other monkeys in society, if other monkeys try to climb up the rope to get to the bananas, the older monkeys have seen that it fails because the scientist pushed the button and shot the fire hose at the previous monkeys. So they're all conditioned. Yeah. None of the other monkeys want anyone to succeed. So they will pull you down. And these people unintentionally are border bullies. Anytime you change your comfort zone, it affects everyone else's comfort zone. There was a Japanese expression, a word for, an idea that there are a billion versions of you in the world, because in everyone else's mind, you're a different person than you are to yourself. So we see ourselves differently than everybody else sees us. They all have an idea, a box that they want us to fit in, that comfort zone. And when we start changing it, it messes with their paradigm. They're like, what am I if he becomes successful? Mm-hmm. If he publishes his books, what level of success am I? Am I ready for J.K. Rowling's level? Am I ready for even mediocre Stephanie Meyer's level? I mean, what are we ready for? And what happens is people will either consciously or unconsciously push their agendas on you. And they'll be there at the border to try to stop you from leaving the comfort zone. And it's usually people that love you.
Yeah.
But really, they love their comfort. They love their comfort zone, and they don't want you to leave because they're afraid of what happens to them if you grow.
Yeah.
And so what you have to have is a champion. And so Robert's my champion like 98% of the time, except for when we disagree on minor topics in podcast. But he believes in everything I'm doing wholeheartedly. I tell him I need to learn a program. He'll start learning the program. And even if it's just painful to watch, he's learning it. And he's doing all these things and being supportive in any way, shape, or form.
German ZBrush videos are horrible. Don't watch those.
Oh, gosh. And a side note, I'm trying to get my kids I'm like, look, we could conquer YouTube because the only people doing self-help, motivational, or any kind of instruction videos are either from Australia, India, or Germany. Mm-hmm. And there's not enough American accents teaching instructional videos. But anyways, so a champion usually steps up and they say, hey, it's okay to go follow your dreams, go see where it takes you, and just know the comfort zone's here if you ever need to come back, but I don't want you coming back.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be comfortable. And I've had to say this to my dad because my dad's always trying to get me to live his dreams. Mm-hmm. He always wanted to become somebody, but he didn't pursue it enough. And I told him the reason why I'm always uncomfortable is, I got scoliosis, one leg shorter than the other, made me deaf, vampire fangs. I'm weird. I'm always uncomfortable. I got arthritis and everything. I'm always uncomfortable. I cannot sit still. I have nervous energy all the time. And these demons in my head, I don't see words. I see the movie. I know it. I know what it's supposed to look like.
And that right there is one of the big problems that we agree on and we both have. You, as a book reader, you know the story too. You read the book, you have this story envisioned in your mind. Another director comes along, changes everything about it, turns it into the new Little Mermaid. We'll just use that as an example. And now you're sitting there, this book that you love, that you enjoyed, is trash on the screen.
And it's not that she's a bad singer. It's that I don't like seeing Sebastian the Crab as a real crab. That's what freaks me out.
And so we talked about it a long time ago. Obviously Luke could sell his story script to Netflix or whoever and just be done with it, make the money off of it, continue on. But that compromises the story that's in his mind. So we decided that with this podcast, when our podcast kicks off and as we grow the podcast and bring in new subscribers and followers and stuff like that, then we'll use that money to press forward with his dream and turn the books into a movie directed by the author himself, the person that wrote them. So what you'll see on the screen is the story that's in his head, the story that plays in his dreams. His dream diary. Boom, turn that around in a circle. How'd you like that shit? That was beautiful. I wasn't even going there.
Yeah, there's something beautiful about being able to translate vision into reality. You know, and if you can take something from in here and put it out here for people to consume, you know, I think that is not only a phenomenal job of becoming the best version of yourselves, but it's inspiring for other people to see. And the truth is, you know, I think a lot of people can do it, but we've, like you said, we've been conditioned to eat the slop they're serving us. Like, hey, eat this garbage. Like, I don't like garbage. Okay, you can have whatever you want to eat. You got the blue garbage or the yellow garbage. Well, that's not anything, you know, that's just still garbage, man. But you can do it. And I think, you know, and as soon as you figure out, okay, if we take the money from the podcast or from the audio version or whatever it is you're doing, all of a sudden, once you've done your movie, now you've opened up an avenue to show other people to do. You got a whole publishing house in front of you. You know what I mean? And that becomes an incredible thing. But yeah, I love the idea.
Which is an idea that we have for the future, you know. Because we want to take and build his movies first, obviously. And then there is a 10-year gap in between the stories that we want to do a TV show about. So there's always something coming out and you're not stuck in waiting for 2 years. But we also want to take the benefits of that, the money that we make off of that, and pour back into people like Luke trying to tell a story, trying to write a book, and say, look, we'd like to give you $1 million to shoot your movie now. From the benefits of this movie, we're just going to dump it over into you. We're going to pour $1 million into your movie, your book, to shoot your idea.
And I think we need to steer away from throwing the dollar amount out there and say, hey, look, we're gonna assign you a production team, and they've got blank check, carte blanche, and you just do what you need to. We'll rein it in if it gets too crazy, but you know, we'll approve the scripts and everything like that. But you know, the idea of the vision, we didn't want it getting ruined, and why it went from script to book was I had a buddy I was a roommate with who was a script editor. They read the scripts, they pre-approve it for the producers. And he read it and he's like, this reads like a book. It's too visually descriptive for Hollywood. Hollywood just puts car chase. You described how the car chase happens, from whose point of view, what's going on in it, and they won't like that. Michael Bay just wants to destroy cars.
Yeah.
And you told him how to do it. They don't want you to tell them how to do their job. The other thing is Hollywood just pays the Writers Guild rate was like 10% of what the production cost would be. So, you know, typical $1 million rom-com movie, low budget and everything, they pay you $100,000 for your script and that's it. And you get credit.
You're
and
over.
You may or may not be consulted on it. And, you know, they have you show up at you know, red carpet stuff and
see, I want to take a moment and tell a story that I don't like reading. I absolutely hate reading books. I feel like it's a waste of time for me. Now, with that being said, Luke come out with his book. And as a friend, as a co-host, of course, I supported him. And there was a whole year on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, go check out Luke's book, you know.
He would promote it. Tell everybody else to read it.
Yeah, I would tell everybody to read it. And Luke, we were talking about it on the podcast one day, and he's like, are you ever going to read my book? And I'm like, yeah, I'll read it. And he messaged me one day. We were on the phone, and I was like, look, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go number 2, and I'll take your book in there with me. I'll sit down, I'll read it, and I'll let you know what I think. And he's like, yeah, sure. I said, I'll call you back after I get out of the bathroom. So he calls me back 3 hours later. 3 hours later, I answer my phone, and he's like, so what'd you think? And I was like, what I think about what? And he's like, the book. I'm like, I'm still reading it, dude. I just come in here. He goes, no, that was 3 hours ago. And I looked, and sure enough, it was 3 hours ago. I spent 3 hours on the toilet reading Nightmares, Volume 1 of the Dream Diary, because I got sucked into his book.
Yeah, that's the biggest comment. comment, whatever I get from people is that I took it in the bathroom. It was going to be my bathroom reader. I was going to, because I get it. You see a big size book. It's like 300, 400 pages. I don't remember. And they're just like, oh, this is going to take forever. And before they know it, they're like, it was like a half hour later, an hour later, I couldn't feel my legs, but I was sucked in the book and I wasn't going to stop.
12 hours, 12-hour read time.
That should be on the back of the book. You know how like you have like all the comments from like all the things on the book? I took this into the bathroom at 6. I didn't leave till 6 p.m.
I didn't stop reading till I couldn't feel my legs.
It's a 12-hour read. I consider myself a average to fast reader when it comes to stuff. So it's a 12-hour read. The second book is about an 8-hour read. But by far the second book is my favorite.
Well, because he only likes it because I had him as a consultant for, being a biker and everything. But so he had some feedback in there and I gave him a dedication. It's great. But the idea, though, is that each new book is a new narrator. The diary gets passed like a torch. And so you're not stuck with poor manic depressant Bella Swan for 4 books in Twilight pining over a vampire. You get a different person, a different set of issues, a different perspective, and then I don't get stuck, being bored with the characters I'm writing. I can walk away from a character and they can be a fun cameo later.
It would be like if Harry Potter, the first book was narrated through Hermione Granger's eyes. The second one was through Ron Weasley. The third one was through Harry Potter. And the fourth one was through Professor Snape or something. It's passed on through that way.
Yeah.
Well, and then, if you're doing omnipresent narrator, you can go through anyone's perspective, flashbacks, whatever. The problem with first-person narrative is anything, any side stories, anything, they have to figure out how they're telling that story. How is this person going to share that event? So that's why I like the idea of surrealism, being able to have shared visions, shared dreams. I explore the idea of lucid dreaming, basically like dream traveling and visitation into other people's dreamscapes.
He knows what this is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people that follow you will pretty much like what I'm throwing down here.
Yeah.
But, I've met some interesting people because I have vampire teeth. It's just normal. They weren't, had them since birth and everything, but I can smell blood. It is weird. It's like a shark thing.
Right.
Well, some of my kids have it too. They're like, "What's that smell?" It's weird. It's like the smell of wet rust in the house, and you're like, "What's going on?" And then you go upstairs and some kid's got a bloody nose. You're like, "Oh, we could follow that. That was weird." But I met a lot of people. I worked with some people that, they were actually practicing Wiccans and doing that before Hot Topic showed up, and they had to make their own clothes and all that stuff. So like they would talk to me and try to tell me things, and I had like a natural understanding of a lot of stuff. So I've done research and looked into it, but it's like the idea is that the Dream Diary eventually will be one whole book. The final spell book will be the last book, and it will have any remaining short stories, anything else I want to do in that. But typically the whole series is going to be 9 books when we're done. And then like RJ said, we're going to fill in the gaps because I give like a year or a couple years for the timeline and the characters to mature between books. And so we'll have filler stories in there, but we're going to flagship all this on our own streaming service, Q4U Plus, when we become like our own Netflix. And, if it becomes an anime version, an animation version first, or if we do live action anytime soon, then that's where it will be found exclusively there. I've been trying to figure out how I would even sell shares or anything, but I know we're going to get approached once it goes viral. But if we even just get a niche, small army of fishnet wearing goth chicks following us of like 100,000, we'll be able to make it exactly the way we want it to be. A little bit above CW quality, Supernatural and Smallville, just around there should be just fine.
And but, I'm gonna take a minute to do the shameless self promo if you don't mind. So what we do, our idea that we found works for us is we have subscribers over at Q4Upodcast.com. That's our website. You can click subscribe now. You can watch all of our episodes that we have on there. And that's our website that we manage. You pay $5 a month to subscribe. You're included in all the content. You get to watch any of it at any point in time. It's all there for you, all free. And that's our GoFundMe, I guess you would say. So with that $5 a month subscription, at the end of every month, the last Saturday of every month, this time it'll be the first of the month, but
if we remember.
Yeah, if we remember. So if we have 50 subscribers, we'll give away $50 to one person. If we have 400 subscribers, we give away $400, 10,000, 10,000, and so on and so forth. That way it's giving back to the people that support us. Now, I understand that not everybody wins. It's like a lottery. But at the same time, it's our way of giving back because nobody ever gives back. Do you see Netflix giving some random person a free month even? No, they don't care. Nope. And we want to show that we care in that way. That's why we're fine doing a podcast about everyday average Joe if they want to come on. We're not in it for the glory, I guess you would say.
Celebrities cost money. And somehow we talked to Chuck Norris, and he's just too old to do it right now. But
yeah,
but we're working on celebrities.
You know what I think about celebrities though is like, by the time someone's a celebrity, like kind of all the magic has already happened. You know what I mean? By like they're already like by the time you get on Rogan, you're already there. You already did it. And that's cool. I'm not saying those people aren't interesting. Like that, dude, it's probably pretty awesome to hear some of those stories. What was the transition like? Or how is it now that you have this giant mansion? Or, hey, man, like it's cool. I get it. And it's intoxicating. But I think that talking to someone who's in the fight, who's on the front lines, who is me or you right now, look, those are the kind of people I identify with. And like that to me is like, oh, they're doing that. Maybe I should think that, And like it just seems so much more like authentic to talk to somebody who's struggling to make it from day to day but has the vision. That's where you can get the real tools of like, this fucking person is going to work every day. They got a family and they're doing this. Okay. I can do it too then. You know what I mean? Like that's where the meat is, I think.
We have a gentleman that comes on our show every once in a while when he can, when he's available. He is actually stationed for the Israeli forces.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we hide his identity. We don't show a picture of him. We just call him the insider. But he talks about stuff that's going on over there because he's in the active military forces.
Right.
And when there was the bombing from Syria and all that stuff, he was there. And it's fun to talk to that kind of person. Your local business owners, your people, like you said, that's going out there every day and busting their back just to try to survive. And they also find that little bit of time for their dream.
Yeah, we have people that will ask us at conventions because there's like, man, I've been writing a book and I want to do this. What advice? I'm like, just keep going, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing a half hour a day, it's still more than nothing. I mean, you got 365 days a year. You wrote one page. That's a 365-page book. It may not be the best book, may not be cohesive, may take another 3 more months to edit. But at least you wrote it.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Luke, who doesn't edit his book. He just hits the little button on Amazon and publishes it. And then I get the first copy and I sit down and I read through it.
Those are special. Those are collector's items someday.
Right.
The rare evidence that the writer's really human.
Yeah.
He has one copy of the second book that has my pen marks in it from where I sat down and read the book. I was like, oh, that's wrong.
Those are my personal copies.
Yeah.
The copies he mails back to me so I can fix the mistakes. But it's proof that he read a book.
It reminds me too. I saw two instances of this. One was I read an article about I don't think it was Banksy. It may have been for the story. We'll pretend it was. And he set up shop at like some New York like a festival. You know, it was like a street festival, like a craft fair. And he had a bunch of his paintings there and stuff, and he was selling them for like $60. And like people would walk by and be like, nah. And like 3 people bought them for like $60 a piece. Turns out each one of those things is like $250,000. There was another story about a violinist who was playing in the subway, and like he just said
it was Josh Bell. Yeah, Josh Bell. I've heard that one.
One of the most incredible pieces. Just put his violin case out there on a Stratocaster, like $1 million, $3 million violin, you know, or whatever.
It's a $1 million Stradivarius.
Made like $30.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. And like brilliance is all around us. You writing a book, like if you look at the garbage that comes out of Hollywood, like it's just been bastardized. The artist has been taken out of the final product in order to make it profitable for everyone else around them. They've diluted the talent, got rid of them because of greed and selfishness, and they've pushed the real talent back to the bottom. But like that's why like look at what we're doing, man. I'm not saying we're the greatest in the world, but look, our talent, I think, and I say our talent, meaning the average person out there, the average person's ability to create content or be beautiful or do something worthwhile is greater than or equal to any sort of celebrity out there, because you're doing everything and creating. Imagine if all you had to do full time, if you didn't have a family, if you had a nanny, if you had a cook, imagine what you could create. Like you have everything, but you know what? Maybe you can't create at that level because you don't have any struggle. You don't have any fights. So that very thing that you have to fight every day with is the very thing that allows you to create in your life. I think it's all around us, man.
Yeah, if you were too comfortable, you're not going to perform. You're enjoying your comfort zone. Oh, I don't need to do that today. I can do it tomorrow. It's not a big deal. You keep putting it off, and then your dream dies.
I was trying to find this picture here. You were talking about artists. We have these pictures on ours where we can show them. But this is the man that we were set up on the other side of at the last Collecticon.
He
just has a series
superheroes
of superheroes on toilets.
That's so awesome.
Voldemort, Mando, the Hulk, Superman, Captain America, and that's what we stared at for 24 hours was this guy's paintings of superheroes on toilets.
I mean, it could have been worse. He had to look at us.
Yeah.
Why not, man? Like, have you seen some of the modern art out there? Like, why not?
Oh, man.
All it takes is one celebrity to buy that thing, and then boom, through the roof. Look, I think Hunter Biden's been a pretty good artist as of lately, right?
Right.
Look, and that's like what people need to do is they need to combine a duet or stitch together Hunter Biden's artwork with a video on, it's financial planning, how to hide money is because art, look,
are you following all of this right now?
Like I am on the peripheral. So like, I think I know most of it. Like what part are you talking about?
So George, if you're following all of this, the Biden money scandal and all that, we designate. So we have our podcast set up for Tuesday News Day, Wednesday, where we look back at an old movie, Theory Thursday. Where we talk about conspiracy theories. Free Mike
talk
Friday,
about them, yeah.
Where sometimes they become political theories, but other times we like to talk about Bigfoot or aliens or whatever. It's not terribly spooky because there's like a wiggle room there. It's like, well, is it a scary Thursday thing or is it a scary thing? Do we put it on Spooky Saturday?
So we have Spooky Saturday. We also do a streamer Saturday. I have all the stuff to do ghost hunts.
Nice.
So I don't believe in it, but still I do it because why not? So I've been following this Joe Biden taking money thing for a while now, and I was up at 3:00 in the morning on my computer doing research because we believe in do your own research. Research everything and then bring out what you know.
Sure.
And I stumbled upon a webpage. It's finance.senate.gov. It's a legitimate government website where they have already looked into Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's finances from...
It's that committee's findings.
The Durham Committee, I think.
Yep.
And it is the proof that everyone is looking for right now. And I have this webpage saved, and I can send you the documents from all this and the webpage.
He called me. He's like, do you ever have that feeling that you looked at something you weren't supposed to look at and you just feel all weird? I'm like, yeah, that's called paranoia. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it's all of the findings. And yes, Hunter Biden took a lot of money as payoffs.
Yeah.
And yes, Joe Biden's whole family has received payoffs. It's ridiculous. I'll use quotations so you don't get banned off of. We know how that is. But all this stuff is out there for you to look at already. And like I said, I want to do a podcast over the whole page that I found, but it's going to be more than just an hour long that we dedicate. You know, it's going to be a
typically we just do an hour. That's how long some of us can be in a room and be patient with each other, or somebody's not calling us during a podcast, interrupting our show.
Had 3 phone calls.
Have you guys seen the BlackRock James O'Keefe thing that just kind of came out?
No.
Yeah, so you know how James O'Keefe, he's like the undercover sort of reporter, right? Like he sends people to kind of undercover stuff. He had sent, I guess this girl's been doing a mock sort of dating with this guy who was an employee with BlackRock, and they have him on tape just talking about like, here at BlackRock, we pretty much, war is really good for us because like we know if like the grain silo is going to get hit, we just buy the futures. Pretty much everybody at BlackRock owns everything. And look, dominating the world is good for business. Most people are fucking retards and they're too dumb to even understand what we're doing. And fuck them, because we don't really need them. They're just a bunch of dummies. But like, that was just like the teaser. So like, I think the real other part comes out today. But he just goes into detail about everything that's kind of happening at BlackRock. He's like, yeah, you could buy a senator for like $10,000. Those guys are so cheap. And every one of them is bought. All the banks own them. And while it's sort of circumstantial evidence, he is an employee at BlackRock, and he is saying these things about what BlackRock and the other banks do. So I'm sure that on some level, he has to at least be taken seriously. It's kind of fascinating to think about.
Now, if you take that right there, what you just said, BlackRock just sued Fox News, which if you look at the financials, BlackRock
all the money,
Fox News. So the money just recirculated. Now, we done a whole podcast over this.
Like Vanguard owns Fox.
The Vanguard
and BlackRock
owns BlackRock. BlackRock isn't the largest group. It's the Vanguard group. The Vanguard group and BlackRock own a split percentage in most companies out there.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Diversified portfolio.
Back and follow it all the way to the very beginning. It goes to the BlackRock group is owned by, or the BlackRock is owned by the Vanguard group.
See, and he's got this like weird nexus of where the internet filters through Oklahoma there before going off to Norway. And so like he can find a bunch of stuff unfiltered, untethered, not erased off the internet yet. Right. And he's finding this stuff. And we're usually like 3 to 6 months before most people.
We're 6 months ahead of the curve on most
and we're saying stuff and people are like, they're crazy. That's just crazy. Right.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, look, my problem is kind of like you said. I take a little infused Jolly Rancher. I sit in front of my computer at 3:00 in the morning, and I just go where I'm led. And it's a divine moment.
Yeah, the emperor has no clothes, right? And then it comes back to conditioning, because if you look at the way we're educated, I talk about this on my podcast quite a bit, is that the model of education we use came from like the Prussian model, where kids are sent to a classroom where there's an authority figure that stands over them, and then they're trained by bells and whistles. You have
the
to
Rockefeller
ask
system.
Absolutely. It's a system of conditioning, right? Where you're conditioned at an early age to ask for permission, to understand you're under authority, to not stack up too high, to not be too good to fit in.
Yes,
and
I am homeschooling my 4-year-old.
Nice,
man, and it's bad enough that she's part of the new early generation called Generation Alpha, which gives me the bejeebies willies. Why don't we just call them the apex predators? They know everything. They can not just unlock your phone, but jailbreak it.
Yeah,
and hack into. I mean,
very recently she was banned off of Roblox for 24 hours because someone with the username Arctic something was in there and broke into her house in one of the games, and she figured out on her own that if she hits the message button with her iPad and then hits the button that says microphone, she can speak and it types whatever she says.
Yep.
So she says, Arctic, you're a little bitch, get out of my house.
And she's 4.
Arctic. Yeah, she's 4 years old. Fuck you, Arctic, you're a little bitch. And Roblox banned her for 24 hours.
And that was worse. The double emphasis on bitch made it worse. It's like, you're not just a bitch. You're a bitch.
You little bitch.
You're someone else's bitch.
Yeah, I mean, there was 7 messages because she brings it to me, Daddy, I can't play Roblox. And I'm like, what? And I look at it and it says, you're due to these comments, and there was 7 of them there, and she's calling him a little bitch and a little bitch fucker. And I'm like, oh my God.
Homeschooling's great.
It's working out just fine.
Right. So at that moment, I have an option, right? I have to either discipline my child going by what Roblox says and not hearing her side of the story, or I can ask her for her part of the story and make my own assumptions, which is what I did. I said, well, what happened? He broke into my house and he wouldn't leave. I said, did you ask him politely to leave first? I mean, obviously that's the thing. Did you say, hey, can you get out of my house? Yeah, he wouldn't leave. And I was like, so then you started calling him a bitch fucker? Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck that little bitch.
Hey, you did your due diligence. You verified first. No, but the generation that is coming up already sees through the lies of the Matrix.
Right.
And I mean, he's 10. My younger son, he's 10, but I remember when he was 2 and 3 and 4. We say, well, you can't do that. That's a rule. That's a law. He's like, well, what are those? He just didn't understand that collectively all of us monkeys decided nobody's climbing that rope. And if anybody climbs that rope, we're going to tear that guy down. But none of us has tried it. And he's like, no, Dad, watch. I'll climb up the refrigerator magnets to get to the cookies. I'm like, look, I don't want to crush his go-to attitude and just, hold my beer and watch. Don't threaten me with a good time type of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have the worry that he's going to be brought home in handcuffs. Because, the rules don't apply to the younger generations that's coming up. And I believe we're shattering the participation trophy generation's concept of reality because nobody gives a shit. And they keep still trying. Oh, you need to accept me and love me. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about me. Why should anyone care about you? Go back in your lane and stay there. And just be happy.
How long have you been on YouTube?
I started on YouTube maybe like 6 years ago, but I used a really interesting strategy that everybody can do, and everybody could get like 30, 40, 50, even 100,000 followers. And here's how I did it. So I have a lot of content. Like I love conversations like this. I love talking about mental health. I love talking about books, and I love talking to comedy teams and people that are interesting from all walks of life. As long as we have a good conversation, I think that's really fun for me. However, not a lot of people, maybe because there's so many people doing it, you don't get a lot of traffic that way. But what you do get a lot of traffic for is famous comedians. And so for some reason, I thought that like, you know what, I'm just going to take these old comedies. For some reason, I use comedians that died. Like I thought that was a little bit more respectful. Not that it matters, but like I'm going to use the comedians that died. So I use like Carlin and Richard Pryor and Robin Williams.
Carlin, my favorite, man.
Oh, phenomenal. And there's like these old comedy roasts that if people haven't checked them out, you should check them out. They're like the Dean Martin comedy roasts, like George Burns and like all these old school comedians are really funny. And I would just take those and I would clip them into shorts, so it's like a minute. And each comedy roast, you could probably get like 50 of them. And so then I would clip those roasts and then I would put them as shorts. And YouTube was really pushing shorts. So I would just clip them, put them on there. And all of a sudden, like about 6 months in, like my channel started taking off. Like some of these shorts would get like 100,000, 200,000. Some got like 1 million. I'm like, whoa. And like, it was really exciting because like I got to see, oh shit, this is possible, man. Like videos do kind of go viral. You know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, this can happen. And all of a sudden, like all these people were starting to pop up and make all these comments. And like my channel just exploded. Like I was like, okay, I got 1,000, I got 1,000, I got 2,000, I got 10,000, I got 15, I got 30. And then I came to the point of monetizing. I'm like, okay, I can monetize now. So I monetized, but then they're like, hey, you can't monetize after. Turns out you have too much reused content. And so I was like, oh, okay. So then I came to this point where I thought, okay, maybe I'm at a point. I looked at it like a rocket. You know how like the space shuttle would theoretically take off with those rocket boosters, and then when it would get into space, those rocket boosters would fall off and it would go into orbit? That's what I thought my channel was. And I thought that those comedy clips were like the rocket boosters. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to cut all my reused content. And so I did. I got rid of all the videos, and those were all the ones that had views. Like this one had 1 million cut. Anything that was reused, I just cut it. And now I had what I thought was my space shuttle orbiting. And I got to keep all the subs, but it dramatically decreased the amount of views that I get. So I have all the subs still. And some people are starting to shy away from the channel because it's no longer pushing the comedy content, but now it just has my stuff. So I got to keep the views. I'm no longer monetized, but I have my own stuff there. But it's a total repeatable strategy
that
anybody can use.
And head home.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely, man. Dude, Luke, awesome, brother. Thank you for hanging. Yeah, so it's a pretty cool strategy.
So we started in 2020. We started off, I'll tell you our origin story, I guess.
Yeah, please.
So we started off with like TikTok and a Zoom call. Like our first podcast, we called ourselves Ancillary because we were talking about anything and everything.
Yeah.
And it was a Zoom call where we were recording our audio separately and then mashed it all together with a timestamp and done all of it the hard way. And we posted that on YouTube, and we had TikTok. And I mean, we were growing really quick, but once we hit the point of monetization on YouTube, everything stalled for us. And we also had the TikTok. We had, I believe it was 10,000. And then for a brief period, we hit like 25,000 followers on TikTok. And I mean, we were getting a great momentum going over there. Then the election happened. So with our logo being the Q, everyone instantly associated us with the QAnon. We were probably the most hated people on TikTok because at that point in time, TikTok wouldn't even let you use the letter Q. It was a banned letter.
Wow.
And so we couldn't even promote ourselves. Every time we put in Q4U podcast, which stands for question for you.
Yeah.
We were automatically getting banned. So we went from that 20 down to 2,800, where we've been steadily at for a long time now. And then, so we're like, we really got to start pushing content other places. So then we went over and we really started pushing on YouTube again, trying to get up to that next step.
Yeah.
And we had the view hours. We had the followers. They just wouldn't monetize us. And shortly after that, we got our first strike on YouTube. Misinformation. We were talking about COVID or something, and misinformation hit us first strike. So we're like, okay, this obviously isn't a place for free speech. So let's find one that is. And our next step was Clapper. The app Clapper had just come out. So we went over to Clapper and we started growing a following over there. And nothing against those people, but those people, that's an echo chamber is all it is. And I really promote more of the make up your own mind. Don't just take what I say and run with it. Have your own opinion with it too. So at that point we were like, you know what? No, we're going to back off of that one too. And we actually made an OnlyFans.
Nice.
Was hosted on OnlyFans for a long time. Well, as you know, or if you don't know, OnlyFans started doing a verification where everyone that is on screen with you, you have to send in their passport ID, their social security number, and all of this information to Sweden. For every time that they're on, you have to send that information to Sweden. And I was like, well, if I have a guest on, I'm not going to ask for their passport identification number to send to Sweden so it can get stolen. I'm not doing that. So at this point in time, we created our own website, and we kind of had it sitting on the back burner, you know, and we would put content there, but we weren't really pushing our website. And we got banned off of YouTube. We went to our website for a while. We streamed on Facebook for a while. And everywhere we went, there's something that prohibits free speech. With Facebook, your comments are being monitored. And once you post a comment that they flag as inappropriate, then they're constantly watching that channel now. So every time somebody posts a comment that somebody else finds inappropriate, your comment's banned. And once again, that was a hard decision to make. We were like, okay, so we have the opportunity to say kind of what we want to say, but at the same time, if somebody else says something that Facebook doesn't feel appropriate, they're going to take their comment down and slap them on the wrist for it and put them in Facebook jail. So now we're streaming on Rumble. It's all right. We're streaming on our website, and really, we just went back to YouTube, started streaming on our YouTube again, a few videos here and there. But you really have to watch where you stream your content at. And that's one thing I've never agreed with, because I'm like, you know what? Let somebody say what they want to say. If George, whatever your opinion is, even if I don't agree with it, then it's my option to either watch you or scroll on past you.
Yeah.
I guess I've never understood the age of internet bullies.
I don't either.
I haven't, because the way I look at it is, if you're saying something that I don't like, block.
I think it's more than that. You know what I think it is? I think it's the insurance companies and liability. It's not so much some screaming lunatic that is a victim. It's more of like, hey, I'm afraid I'm going to get sued, so just block anything that could possibly sue me. And then they just blame it on like they blame it on like the weakest people, because they want those people to be victimized. That's, you know, let me throw this strategy out. Here's an idea I've kind of been playing with, that I see the way the culture moving. Like right now, there seems to be so much division in the world of media. Like there's so much propaganda out there. And it seems that like, whether it's like, like a transsexual dancing at a library, or it's like a Black Lives Matter group, or it's like the Target things that are happening. Like, I think all those people are being set up. Like, I think all of those people are being set up to be hated, and they're pumping all this money. And I think it's people like Vanguard. I think it's people like BlackRock. I think they're setting up all of these people that are already victims, and they're blowing them up, and they're going to be the useful idiots that the communists use. And these people, yeah, man. And I, on some level, I think it's working. I think you're seeing this really hard turn to the right, and those people are going to be persecuted. And they're going to be used, instead of taking out the bankers, instead of taking out, the financial elite, or the CEOs of the CEOs of the corporations that run the government. Like, that's all behind a smoke screen. And instead, why don't you yell at this person who has blue hair over here, who's really annoying? Like, and I don't think those people see that, man. But that's where I see this whole thing going. It's like, oh, these people are just being set up, and they're going to get crushed. And the people that are going to do it are going to be the people that are sick and tired of being told they're second-class citizens. And it just seems like they're trying to promote this class war in order to get away with their crimes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's a scapegoat strategy.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is, of course, they don't want their friends and the people in their company and all these people to be under attack and go to jail. So you have to find an out. You have to find your scapegoat. And if it's the purple hair guy that's kind of already, I'm going to say it, a little bitch, then let it be the purple hair guy that you have no contact to that can get up there and stand on a stage and scream into a microphone that you paid for and say, I don't feel this is right. He's going to get hated. They're not going to think that you put it on. You paid for the microphone. You paid for the stage. You went and got the permits. They're not going to look at that. They're going to look at the individual that said the words.
Yeah. It's an interesting time for sure. And one strategy that I've been using talking to people about is that, I think finding a way to create your own content and not pay attention to that goes a long way, and even if it's like I got fired from my job, but I left there, and trying not to participate in the machine is a great way to give them the middle finger. It's really hard. And some people can't do it because you got a mortgage, you got a family, and I get it. Like some people can't do it, but if you can do it, I think now is a great time to chase down that feather that's on the windowsill, to chase down that dream, because right now things are changing and nothing is sure about the future except that the change is constant. And right now is a beautiful time for anyone listening to this to start believing in yourself in a way that you never have before, and start setting an example for yourself, your family, and your community. And it can be done.
Yeah, 100%. Be the change you want to see. Like you said earlier, we say, be the people.
Yeah.
Be the people for the change. Instead of, the Constitution states that we the people, then be those people.
Yeah.
Stand up and do something about it. And the reason that be the people came along was during the time of election and 2020, when everyone was so fired up about the election and everybody said that this is my line. If they cross it, then I'm going to do this. And we had a bunch of those people. Like I said, we were in Clapper. We were talking to those people every day. And they all had their permanent line. If they do this, then I'm going to stand up. And then they would do it. And I would say, okay, they crossed your line. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now if they do this, and it was the old cartoon, don't cross this line, don't cross this line, don't cross this line. And that's when we started, be that person then. If you say, if they do this, then I'm going to do this. Well, if they do that, then do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just be about your words. Actually stand up and do something. And one of the things, I don't know if you pay attention to this. Are you on Instagram?
I am.
Okay. So Instagram pays out their top influencers, right? Right now, I believe Ellen DeGeneres is in second place.
Okay.
And Ellen DeGeneres has 180 million, don't quote my numbers exactly on this, but she has like 180 million followers on Instagram. She only follows like 200 people. But she gets paid like $6,000 to $7,000 per post.
Wow.
She makes. So Ellen DeGeneres is making money off of every one of you that follow her. And one of my big pushes is that I believe everybody should stop following those people.
Yeah.
Stop. Don't. And I'm not saying follow me.
Right.
I'm saying instead of following those people, set up a networking group on Discord or some server somewhere where everybody can get together and say, okay, you know what? This month we're going to go follow this veteran and vet this person, make sure they're actually a veteran, no stolen valor, make sure that they are, really trying in life and actually doing what they say they are. Go follow that person. All 180 million people, go follow that person. Let them post every day. Let Instagram pay them $7,000 a post every day for this. And at the end of that month, take your views back and find somebody else that's important and deserving of this, instead of giving your money to the people that don't care about you.
That's such a brilliant idea. Dude, how can I help make that idea possible, man? Like I'll make a short, and like that's such a beautiful idea. It's like an alternative sort of economy in a way, and it's be the people, like you said. Like we do have the power, the same way.
The thing. It's you have the power, and that's one of the things that I try to push on people is, well, I can't change anything. No, you can. You can make a change. just by simply not following somebody on Instagram and turning your follow to somebody else, you have that power. It takes more of us to do it because we're the lower class citizens, but we still have power in our groups, in our numbers. And like I said, it's one of those ideas I have that I haven't really.
Yeah.
I tell people, don't follow them, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know who to follow.
Right. I had an idea a while back too, like just I was thinking about a similar idea of like, wouldn't it be not similar in that, but similar in, wouldn't it be cool if there was a group of people that just got together and tried to make someone's day better? Like if you were a group of people, so you had a Facebook page or a YouTube channel, or you have a bunch of followers, and you could just all get together and be like, hey, I read this guy's post. He's having a pretty tough day, man. What if we started like a GoFundMe? Or what if we just all went on his page and bombed him with like positive ideas, positive words? Like even something like that could fundamentally change someone's day or their week or even their life. Like, hey man, we're going to bomb this guy for a week. Tell him how awesome he is. And they would just, some stranger would be like, dude, everyone's blowing me up. Tell me how awesome I am. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be a good feeling, right?
That would change somebody's whole life. I mean, you don't know that person. They could be on the verge of suicide.
Yeah.
They really could. And that one message, one inspirational message, a like on their photo could change somebody's entire day.
Yeah.
Like you said, their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there should be more things like that.
It's a beautiful idea, but as I said, it's something that I'm not really sure how to get off the ground. I have a Discord, I have a Facebook, I have Instagram. We have the same username on just about everything. Like I said, we even have an OnlyFans.
Right.
We have Q4U podcast branded all over everything. But we've been unfortunate enough that we've had to, like I said, leave YouTube and go back to YouTube and hit Rumble and bounce around to here and here and here and here and here. We're always bouncing, that we can't amass a large group of people in one place before eventually we're kicked somewhere else. Because
I'm sorry.
I believe in the ability to say what's on your mind. And just because you label it as misinformation, maybe it's not. Maybe in 3 years from now, we're going to go, whoa, remember all those people that you kicked off of your platform for saying misinformation were actually correct? And are these big companies going to do anything about it? We don't matter. We're consumers to them.
Mm-hmm.
We, back onto the helping people out, during pandemic and COVID times and all that, 2020 in the heart of it, we looked at Amazon. And if the guy from Amazon had taken and given all of his Prime members, let's say he gave all of his Prime members $1,000 to use on Amazon to purchase food, do you know how much that would have benefited him in the long run? Everybody would have still been Amazon Prime members, and he would have gained more Amazon Prime subscriptions and everything else, just for giving these people $1,000 that he would have gotten back, and he could have wrote all that off on his taxes. Little things like that people don't think of, because I believe greed gets in their way.
Yeah, I think it's a whole board of, it's like I think greed is contagious, and it's like if you have a board of directors sitting around talking about, and most of the board of directors have never even worked for the company. There's a guy named Varoufakis. He's like the Greek finance minister. Forgot his first name, but his last name is Varoufakis, and he had a really interesting idea. He talks about the time in which Greece, when Greece was about to default to the European Union, he became the finance minister for a party called Syriza, and they got into power because they're like, yeah, we're just going to default. We're not going to pay. Fuck Europe. We're not going to pay any money. We're just going to default on it. And so Europe was like, you're not going to default on anything. You're going to pay us that money. And they're like, nah, we're not going to do it. So the people voted that group in because they didn't want to pay the debt. They're like, we'll just go back to our own currency. Well, Europe can't have that happen because it'll collapse the entire euro. And so Yanis Varoufakis goes to this finance meeting, and they're like, he said that the first thing that happened when he went to the meeting is like, listen, we're going to listen, Yanis, we're going to listen to everything you have to say. But there's just one thing we have to tell you. You can say and do anything you want in here. We're going to listen, but you can't change any of the rules in finance. And he's like, well, why the fuck am I here then? He's like, we're going to default, and that's it. It's done. Yeah. And so they ended up like threatening him. They called because he was the finance minister. So they called the prime minister in, and then they got that guy to turn his back on Varoufakis. But his idea was this. He goes, look, capitalism around the world, it's been taken over by the corporations. It's corporatocracy now. It's not really even capitalism. It's just this corporate takeover of the world. And I think it was John Dewey who said, government is the shadow cast upon people by business. So Varoufakis' idea is this. He goes, why don't we make it so that you can't have the speculators? Like if you're an employee for a company, when you join that company, you get one share. And now you get one share in the vote of whatever the company does. And then if you get quit or you're fired, you give back that share, you start working at another company, then you get a share of that company. Like it's the most equitable, and I'm not a huge fan of the word equitable the way it's been used, but it is a way to sort of equalize the authority inside the company. And it takes away the motivation for people that don't care about the workers or the company or the integrity of the company. It takes those people out of it, so the people that are there get a chance to decide. Right. And you know, it's pretty interesting. He also had some really interesting ideas about similar to what we were talking about, but more of an aggressive stance where, you know, why don't the people get together and find out like what General Electric is shorting, and then everybody buy that stock, you know, like the same way AMC did it, or all the apes on Reddit did it. Like that's possible. It could be done. And so I think that there's some good ideas out there. It's just getting, and maybe this is why there's so much distraction. Maybe why there's so much propaganda out there is because people are beginning to coalesce around these ideas and finding ways to fight back. I like to believe that.
Right. I mean, let's say in all of my social medias and all of our platforms, we're looking at somewhere around the 10 to 20,000 people. Some of those could be duplicated or whatever.
Sure.
Your following, I'm not sure how big your following is at this point in time, but even at that, okay, let's say we're both at 10 to 20,000 people. So we group them all together. Then we have 40,000 people. Yeah. And with 40,000 people, you can make a difference. It's just getting them all to one point and saying, look, guys, this is our group mindset. This is our hive mindset. And this is our goal to achieve. And it's one thing that I've started with Streamer Saturday. So I also stream on Drip, selling Funkos and collectibles and stuff like that. And one of the things that we talk about in there is, okay, so you're a streamer with 150 followers. Come on the podcast, tell everybody about yourself, tell them what you do in one of our Streamer Saturdays, and then bring all of your followers in. This guy with 150, this guy with 150, this guy with 150. Everybody bring your followers in and pull them. So now, instead of being one lone person with 150 followers, now we are all a group with 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 followers, and keep expanding and growing on this. That way we can bring in more people and spread it out. Because look, it's nothing. On YouTube, you hit subscribe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it, guys. You hit subscribe, and that's support.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things that we push. Support comes in many ways, shapes, and forms. Share this video. Share True Life Podcast with 5 of your friends. Share it in Facebook Messenger, Instagram, whatever. Share True Life Podcast with 5 of your friends. Go talk about it in your coffee break in the morning, whatever. And that's some of the greatest support that you can have. So another idea that we took from that was with our website and the $5 a month subscription. So like you, True Life Podcast, we would give you a code, True Life, as your code. And now everybody that you tell to go subscribe to the website, they get their first month for $3. They're still entered into the drawings and nothing changes that way. It's just a discount. But for every person that you send and uses that True Life discount code to get their $3 a month, we pay you $1. And we offer this to anybody. If you're somebody sitting at home that is an influencer in some way, shape, or form, you have 10,000 people on your TikTok page, your bills are coming due, whatever, then message us, get a hold of us, and say, hey, I would like that promo code. And we give you a promo code and take as much advantage of it as you want. If you send us 300 people, then we'll send you $300 on PayPal. Because that's the best promotion, I believe, is the word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But send me the True Life code so I can send some people your guys' way.
Yeah, I'll make it right now and send it to you. I mean, it's and nice. That's the thing. So our website keeps track of it all. So at any point in time, you can message and say, hey, what am I at right now? And I'll send you a screenshot of it and say, hey, you've got 40 people. Do you want paid out right now, or do you want to let it hold over, And that's one thing that I push for everybody to understand, to be the champion. If not for yourself, do it for somebody else.
Yeah.
Support comes in many ways, shapes, and forms. Just watching a video, an hour view helps you. And that's an hour view where you can just take and set your phone down and walk off and do whatever you need to do. You don't have to pay attention to it. I really wish you would and listen to some of the words that people say.
Sure.
But you don't have to. That hitting subscribe and watching an hour of their video or whatever is some of the biggest support that you can do for people.
Yeah, it's true. What do you think is the future for creators? Like, when you see, I think a lot of people have had a lot of hope for Rumble to become bigger than it is. And it's on some level, I can see them paying out some pretty big creators, trying to get them to work exclusively with them. But it just seems like I don't even know what to believe. Like, how many of my subs are real people? How many subs on anybody's channel are real people? Like, you can just buy those. I mean, I've had people that call me like, hey, you want to buy some subs? And I'm like, I don't have any money to do that, man. But, right. And then if you have those subs, does YouTube even know that they just pay out their people? And if they do, why wouldn't they just create they create the channels they want and then pretend they have subs and just buy them the subs? It's like, it just seems so convoluted. And sometimes I think that that's why all these other channels are popping up. But sometimes it seems when there's so many channels, no one's paying attention to any of them.
There it is. True Life.
Yeah.
Capital T, capital L. All one word. $2 off your first month.
Nice. Everybody listening, check them out.
So that's a problem I see in the future, is because now, I don't know if you've heard about it, but there's a new streaming platform called Kick. It's not new. It's like a year old now. And their rules are a lot more lax. They host gambling. They host OnlyFans girls. They host podcasts, politics. It's all there, all in one spot. It's like a Twitch platform, only, and it's a bunch of people that were on Twitch that got together and started this. And one of the goals that they hope to achieve is that they can pay streamers $15 an hour.
Wow.
To be on there, which sounds wonderful, right?
Sure.
But as they claim, it's a future hope that they want to happen. And there's a new social media. There's a new streaming platform. Just in buying collectibles, you can use Whatnot, Drip, PopShop.live. And this is all stuff that's just blown up over the recent days. And I think the problem is that, like my problem that I talked about earlier, is I spread myself too thin with YouTube, Facebook, Rumble. Mm-hmm. I spread it around hoping to get the word out instead of focusing on one platform. But I also find it difficult to obey the rules, I guess you would say, so I can stay on that platform.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I was different. I think we all get that, though.
Yeah. I do too.
Sometimes I wish I was a rule follower and I didn't accidentally say the word fuck, so that somebody could come along and say, oh, he said a bad word, block him. I get that mindset. I do. I understand it. I have, like I said, a 4-year-old also who absorbs every word that she hears. So I understand that as a parent, you don't want those people on the social media.
Sure.
But at the same time, we really need to respect our First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. I believe anybody has the right to go out and say whatever is on their mind. And what's actually funny is if I was the kind of person to push things and want to sue and all that, I could. Because in 2011, I became an ordained minister. It was online, just so I could do marriages and all that. But I am still an ordained minister in the state of Oklahoma. So for those of you that don't know, as an ordained minister, I can post up anywhere and say anything I want. That's how preachers and ministers get by with that. Is they're not regulated to the point of you have to set up and buy a permit to speak and all of this. As an ordained minister, you have the right to publicly express your religion as whatever it may be. So for hampering my freedom of speech and saying that it's misinformation or whatever is actually an attack on religious beliefs.
Yeah, it's a battle, man. It's the problem with litigating everything is, you're up against a monster, like a monolith that has tons of money, lawyers on standby, and time, and you end up giving all your energy to something that you don't even really care about. The only energy you have is anger towards it. Like I thought about that with where I work too. I'm like, I could totally sue these guys, but you don't want to put that much energy into it. Like, okay, they wronged you. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? You want to stand there and fight them, or you want to try to become something better? And that energy kind of hangs over you sometimes and just drains you.
Yeah.
I guess if you have the right thing, you can do it, but.
And then at some point, you no longer care about it. You're just in it because you put so much time and effort into it. That's your only motivation.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. It's true. It's like a bad relationship. Like, just leave. Just get out.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to stay there and fight. Get out. Just fucking get out, man. Cut your losses and go.
Yeah. And I think it's something that we as a people need to work on.
Yeah.
Is this something I want to devote that much time and effort into? Is this something that I want to take time away from my family? Working on the road, like I said, when I was a millwright, I spent 7 months on the road, a year and a half on the road. I was away from my family.
Yeah.
So once I finished that job with Luke that we met at, I actually came home and started working on a farm, not far from here. Had a baby. I was with her every day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go out. And then I started a construction company, and one of the first things I had to do was leave. And that was one of the biggest moments for me. It was like, oh, well, here I am doing the same thing I didn't want to do.
Yep.
But you have to make sacrifices for your family. It's like going into that 9 to 5 that you absolutely hate just so you can pay your bills and put food on the table.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I spent, 14 hours a day. I wake up at 5, make breakfast, drop my kid off at school, be to work by 7, work till like 9, come home, everybody's sleeping. Just being so burned out, man, and just being so unhappy. Like, I'm making great money, but what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm never here. My wife's doing everything. My kid doesn't even see me. Like, at what point in time is all that money worth sacrificing the very things that you love? Like, and like that's what started eating me. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is dumb. Like, and then there's the fear factor. Well, if you leave here, you can't support your family. If you leave this thing, you can't do it. And then it just becomes this weird sort of negative looping thought in your mind that just weighs on you and pulls you down. And like, you got to break that pattern, man. And I think it brings you to the idea of battling with uncertainty. Like, you may not know what's going to happen, but look at your past. Have you always been able to be okay? Yeah. Have you always been able to make it? Yeah. Have you gotten through all the tragedies in your life? Yeah. Okay, well, then you're probably going to get through this one too. You know, and matter of fact, isn't the big chances you took, didn't they turn out good for you? Maybe not in the beginning, but didn't you see some silver lining in them? Yeah. Okay,
and well, they make you stronger. Every one of them makes you stronger.
Every one, man. Every one.
Every trial, every tribulation that you face as a person makes you that much stronger.
Yeah.
Makes you that much of a better person.
Yeah.
I wake up every day trying to be a better person. That's my main goal in life, is to be a better person every day. And that's one of the things that we as Q4U podcast hope to accomplish. My big push is 10,000 subscribers. Once we hit 10,000 subscribers on our podcast, then I want to personally take $10,000 cash to somebody's house, the winner of that month, and hand deliver that and say this, because my hopes is it's somebody that needs it. And every time we've done a giveaway, it has been somebody that needed it, somebody that's been on a tough time. That extra $100 really helped out. That extra $50, they needed it at that moment.
Yeah.
One of the people, he won. He wasn't watching the podcast. He wasn't there to see it. I didn't have his contact information. So I reached out to another person. I was like, I really need to find him. I need to get his PayPal. I don't have his PayPal, but he won $150 this month. And I mean, it was probably a week of not hearing from him. I went to other streams that I knew he was at sometimes to hang out, and I would sit in the background just waiting for him to come in. I hate owing people money.
Yeah, I know.
And I felt like I owed him. And finally I got a hold of him, and he messaged me. I got his PayPal. I sent him the money. No, I take that back. He did not. Somebody that he had sent money through PayPal to, I got his PayPal from them. And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, just give me his PayPal information so I can send him some money.
Yeah.
All right. So they sent it, and I sent him the $100. And it was probably another week after that, he messaged me, and he's like, you don't understand how much that $100 helped me out at that specific moment.
Yeah.
Me and my wife were having hard times. I was under a lot of stress. I was wondering where I was going to get money to buy this and this and this. And he said, at that moment, my phone dinged and there was $100 there. He said, and at that moment, I knew there was something out there that wanted me to succeed. And I was like, dude, that's what it's all about.
That's so awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. Such a good feeling.
Yeah. And every time we've done a cash giveaway, it's been like that, And sometimes during the middle of the month or something, I'll get a random moment. I'll be like, let's do a $100 giveaway this month.
Yeah.
And I'll go through that list of subscribers, and I'll do a random number generator. I have a number assigned to every one. I'll do a random number generator. It gives me a number, and I'll look through the list. If that person's still actively subscribed, then I'll send the money to their PayPal. And every time they've been like, you don't know how much at that time that helped me. It's a great feeling. And that's why, because you and I both know that $10,000 is not a small amount of money.
That's huge, man. It's huge.
$10,000 is life-changing for somebody that's, let's face it, money is a big issue right now. Feeding your family went from $200 a week to $500 a week.
Yep.
Just to feed your house. That $10,000 could relieve so much stress. And I'm not a fan of the GoFundMes. I feel like GoFundMe has such a rotten reputation now. And, I mean, of course, I would say support me, yes.
Yeah.
Give me your money. Trust me, I'll make sure it goes to the right place. Right. But at the same time, I think it's a way to benefit. You got $5 that, that's one less can of tobacco. That's one less pack of cigarettes for you.
Right.
To help a creator grow, to press fresh content, and to have something that could pay off potentially in the future for yourself. It's like a stock market gamble.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, man. I think it's a great idea. And like you said, I don't I don't know that I've talked to anybody else that's given back like that, man. I think you're the first person, man. So congratulations. That's a great thing to do. And it's, I don't know. I think it's worth expanding that idea, and I might have to steal it from you and use it myself.
Use it. That's the thing. I mean, I would much rather see, like I said, let's look at Netflix. Right. Netflix started out, if you guys remember, Netflix started out as $9.99 a month. I actually think before that it was like $6.99, like Disney Plus and all of them. Mm-hmm. You got one movie in the mail that you had to mail in, wait 2 days, you got your next one in.
Yeah.
That's how it began. And now it's charging, what, $20 a month? Have they ever given you anything?
Nope.
Nothing. Disney. Look at Disney. Disney started out. They were going to be the premier broadcasting company. All their new movies were going to be delivered right to your television screen. And then they started holding out on us. They started saying, well, we realized that we should still do the DVDs and the box office and stuff like that. And then we'll put it on Disney Plus, right? And have they ever given anything back? No. They've never given one of their supporters a trip to Disneyland.
No.
And that's how we wanted to be different. We want to give back to the people that support us. You give to us, we want to give back.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Robert, this has been an awesome conversation, man. I love talking to you guys, dude. It was really fun.
Yeah. We'd love to have you on our show sometime. I know it's later on in the afternoon for you.
Yeah. Yeah. What time is it over there right now?
It's 4:17 here, and we podcast at 7:30 Central, Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay, because it's 11 a.m., 11:17 a.m. over here. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're 5 hours difference.
Yeah.
So that's no problem. So 7 o'clock your time would be 2 o'clock my time. Okay.
So 2:30.
2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let me know, man. Anytime.
Yeah, it's Theory Thursday tonight. You're welcome to come on and join us.
Yeah.
I don't plan it as early as you do. I have, like I said, I'm on Rumble and stuff, so I'm limited to a 30-minute window where I have to put all the information in.
Yeah. That's true.
But yeah, we'll definitely send you a link to your email if you want to jump in and join us tonight or whenever. You're more than welcome, man.
All right. What time? Yeah. What? So it's 7 and it's 4, maybe in 3 hours. I got a podcast at 1. Maybe we'll see, man. From 1 to 2. The mental math hurts my head a little bit. I got a podcast at 1 my time. That guy's, so I'll probably go till 2 o'clock. Maybe 2:30. I don't know, man.
I will email you my phone number.
Yeah.
Just shoot me a text.
Okay. That'd be much better. Way easier.
Yep.
Okay. That'd be awesome. Do that. Okay. Fantastic, man. Well, I hope you have a fantastic day. Shout out to Luke and check out the books. Check out their content. Do yourself a huge favor. Subscribe to them. You never know. You could be the $10,000 winner. I love the ideas about making the world better. I think we're kind of cut from the same cloth in so many ways. You guys got a show coming up tonight. Where can people find you if they're looking?
So you can always find us on our website, Q4U podcast.com. Every show we do is sent straight there live. And it's a library for all of our shows that we do. Some of them are still paid. I'm working on going through each and every one and making them, But you can always find our show there. We've been on Rumble here lately for like the Tuesdays and Thursdays. We've kind of got a weird schedule with the different platforms we're on. But we have, like I said, a YouTube page, Rumble, OnlyFans, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can find us anywhere. Reach out. But our day-to-day shows right now are on Rumble and our website.
Fantastic. All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate the time today. Looking forward to catching what you guys got coming up a little bit later today. And I'm sure we'll be in touch and be doing some more shows together, man. So appreciate your time, man. Hang on one second. I'm going to hang up, but I still want to talk to you for one more minute.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for today. Aloha.